Next up, we got Chad Anheliger and Jesse Strader. Now, this is a really interesting fight. Jesse Strader coming up through the Combat Americas promotion. Before that Montel Jackson fight, you kind of see his highlight reel, right? And there's something about the way he fights. He's got good strikes. He attacks the body well. There's some moist high striking in there that looks really great, but I find it always questionable when fighters get very popular off of, say, the same combination or the same move or the same, whether it's a submission or anything like that, because it's so obvious that when those are relatively a dime a dozen on the regional scene, they get to the UFC and then, that whole train kind of stops. The competition increases tenfold. You start to have a lot more, as they say, ring IQ and game planning. It's not just going in there and trying to find that spot where you can execute that finishing move. Jesse Strader, for example, some of his best highlights is basically right hook to the body, left hook to the body, right hook to the body, left hook up top. I've watched him land that now. I think 2 or 3 of his losses come directly from that combination. Now, you can do a quick Google search to find that tape and see how Jesse puts that all together. And if I'm game planning and I'm coaching a fighter that has to go into a bout with Jesse, there are some things that you can probably keep a note of going into the fight. So what I'd like to see from Jesse is a lot more versatility. I think that now that he's in the UFC, he's going to have to show a lot more when it comes to, influencing his own offense within the, realm of the octagon. I think that in this case, you look at a guy like Chad, plus 300 underdog on the Dana White Contender Series, but then we saw him come away with a split decision loss. So those are those situations where even though you lose, you actually come out looking a lot better because no one had any expectations of you for real going into that fight, and then all of a sudden you put on an absolute show with your, I guess you could say, colleague. My only issue with him is you look at his 11 wins, and 8 of them have come against fighters with less than 10 fights, and his first 3 wins, I think all fighters had a combined 9 fights. So it's, are we looking at a lot more even records than the tape would show? Most likely. But I also believe that Anheliger's ability to go the 3 rounds, level change, find some counter strikes. I just think that Jesse Strader's, I just think he's a little one-dimensional right now. I think there's a lot more room to grow. And I actually think this fight's a complete pick'em. I don't even know who's going to go in what way, but I think as we get closer to fight night, we can see who the favorite might be, but I'm going to go with the Chad favorite as a minus 120. So let's take a look here. Chad Anheliger, so minus 275 opener. It's actually coming down. I'm seeing some places at 265. Some places are hitting now between minus 235 and minus 245. And Strader is hovering around that plus 200, plus 210 range pretty consistently. So we know where that one stands. I guess we were a little too close with breaking down the fighters, but Vegas thinks this is a complete one-sided fight for the most part for Chad, and we'll see how it goes.